Defense attorney Mark Geragos, former felony prosecutor Eric Faddis. Good to have you both, gentlemen. Thank you. First, Mark, did I basically lay it out right for people's understanding at home? You don't have a right to jury by people of your race, but people of your race can't be excluded on that basis from a jury either. What do you make of what is known in the law as a Batson challenge here, and why it was rejected by the judge and what it could mean on appeal?
Well, okay, you asked, the first question was, did you get it right? Don't get upset, but no, you didn't get it right. When the way you framed it, first of all, just in terms of what the argument was, one of the big battles was he going to get a voluntary manslaughter or a manslaughter instruction? They did get a manslaughter instruction. I think that just watching this from afar, and one of the problems with this case is that it was being reported and being filtered by whoever's team you were rooting for and not being able to see it, is that people didn't understand. A complete self-defense is, was it reasonable? The middle ground is, if it was an unreasonable use of force, but to some degree in reaction to a use of force, that would have put you into manslaughter territory. The reason that's important, Chris, is because to the challenges, the peremptory challenges that were used by the prosecution, this case was over in jury selection, as most cases are. When you don't have any black jurors, and mind you, you had people of color but no black jurors in this jury, that was over. This kid was not going to get a fair trial.
That is it. This is not Perry Mason. This is not L.A. Law. This is not the Lincoln lawyer. In reality, cases are not won in the closing arguments. Cases are won in the jury selection. This case was over when they selected that jury. The case was decided with the jury. When they put no black people on that jury, family, America is more racist than you know. America is a lot more racist than you give it credit for. Good white people, if you watch it, America is a lot more racist than you give it credit for. Black people, America is a lot more racist than you give it credit for. You underestimate at least 50% of the racism, even if you're like, man, I see racism. No, it's the racism you don't see.
Of color but no black jurors in this jury, that was over. This kid was not going to get a fair trial. One of the things, I've been doing this for 43 years. Jury selection determines everything in a criminal case, number one. Number two, the reason the jury selection informs every case in every community, in every courtroom, is because you are the product of your upbringing by the way you view things. And you're never going to convince, I don't care what kind of an orator you are, how persuasive you are, you're not going to be able to impart your lived experience onto 12 people and somehow get them to understand a 17-year-old black kid who's sitting there with two people who are hulking over him and who shoved first and what degree of force he's supposed to use. A black juror may have understood that in a way that a white juror won't. I know that's incendiary. I know that drives some people insane. But I invite any person, I invite anybody who's ever watched a criminal courtroom work to take a look and see what happens. And race informs everything. Why is a prosecutor, any prosecutor can come up with an excuse or a pretext to excuse any juror. You can say that their educational background. You can say they've got a first cousin twice removed who was arrested for something. You can always come up with that. Why does a prosecutor, why are they entitled to a peremptory challenge at all? If they've got the burden of proof, it's beyond a reasonable doubt. Why are they bouncing off black jurors when you know in the community that's just going to inflame the situation?
Why they do it? They knew it was going to be backlash. They knew people like me that were paying attention were going to call it out. I may not have known about the Boston Challenge beforehand, but I did my research and found out about it and realized that's what they did. You realize there was 600 people in this juror pool? You realize that? And there was one juror, one black man that said, hey, I don't feel good about putting a brother in jail. I don't feel good about locking a brother up. One guy said that. That's not all the black jurors. That's one black man. There were white women that said the same thing. There were white men that said the same thing. But people are easily manipulated because when they hear that a black man said that, they imagine in their mind that all black, because we know we all get credit for what everybody does when it's bad. When one person does something that people don't agree with, we all get blamed for that. A lot of people have been repeating that fallacy, that lie, as if the reason why there were no black jurors is because they all said they couldn't be unbiased. All over the internet, repeating bullshit. Repeating bullshit. There were white women that said, you seem like a good kid. I can't fit 99 years. I don't feel good about it. I can't do it. There were white men that said the same thing. Why is no one mentioning that? They only mentioned the one black guy who was honest and said, I don't feel good about this. Maybe he had a job. He didn't want to miss his job. Maybe there's a lot of reasons why people try to get out of jury duty.
On these facts, do you find that to be a shocks to conscience verdict?
No, I don't, actually. I think that on these facts with this jury, the murder conviction was preordained, frankly. I think it was a victory for the defense to get the manslaughter, but if you had had some black jurors on that jury, I would have prognosticated at that point that they may have landed as a compromise verdict at a manslaughter. There is a pretty compelling argument, but it's a much tougher argument because he did not get on the stand to testify, and that's a whole different decision by the defense. But the fact remains that given a jury that had no blacks on it with a black 17-year-old kid, and that was the end of that. I mean, I'm old enough to remember the Zimmerman case. You covered it. When that jury was selected in Florida and there were no blacks on that jury, I actually said that night on CNN that Mark O'Mara, the lead defense lawyer, would have to trip, fall, and hit his head to lose that case. And sure enough, Zimmerman was acquitted. So for anybody who says race doesn't inform these things, it's naive and it's beside the point.
No black jurors on the Zimmerman trial. That's part of the reason why Zimmerman walked, I believe. I think that's it. And a dead man tells no tales. He could just say, I was scared for my life. What else could I do? He wounded me, hit my head on the ground. I had to kill him. I had to. Had to save him. It was me or him. Cry a little bit. Black men are already demonized. Even black boys are demonized. They're seen as grown-ass men when they're not. They said Tamir Rice was a grown. They thought Tamir Rice was a grown man. He was 14. See, we got black people falling for it, and it's really bothering me because they appear to be wise in other ways. They seem to be learned. They seem to be intelligent, right? They think that a black juror would see favoritism. You don't understand racism at all. No, fool, they see a human being. We're all supposed to see human beings. There was nothing about Karmelo Anthony in his background to make you think he is this quote-unquote YN. There was not a damn thing in his background to make you believe that. Honors roll student, football team, track and field team. He even literally saved a life. He's literally been in the newspaper for risking his life saving other kids' lives who were drowning in a pool. Literally did that just a couple years ago. No record at all. He does not, there's no gang tattoos, nothing. Posed with a couple guns online, that's what kids do, depending on where you live at. That's all they got. Shit, they got pictures of Hunter and Austin with guns. It's different when black kids do it, don't it? Isn't it though? Different when they do it. I'm gonna tell you, man, I saw a couple black sisters on TikTok. I mean, it's very disappointing, fam. Very disappointing. I don't know who wounded you, what they did, and why they did it. I don't know. But that ain't got nothing to do with Karmelo Anthony. It's got nothing to do with my son or my daughters. That's your own shit. Go to a therapist. I know you think you standing on business, you look crazy. It's obvious you are torn up inside. Nah, they're not showing favoritism. It looks like favoritism. You know, when black people were trying to help other black people who were about to get whipped by Massa or Massa's henchmen, that wasn't bias, that was humanity. That was seeing them as a human. And to the white people, they were not human, so it appeared to be a betrayal of them for you to see black people as a human being. And it's the system that we have in this country. They would see white people that saw black people as humans as a betrayal too. They tar and feather white people that cared about black people. They would tar and feather other white people for giving a damn about black people. No, it's not bias. And see, the difference is when a white kid does something, they still see him as a human being. So the first part of the defense opening statement, they did their best to humanize Karmelo Anthony. And they say that he did a pretty good job of doing that. The lawyers did a pretty good job of doing that. Obviously they didn't, because they saw a person that never committed any crimes before as an intentional murderer. An intentional murderer. Now I'm telling you all of this, and now I see now that the coast is clear and this young black man has been sentenced to 35 years. Now I saw a couple Democrats coming out talking now. That's convenient. Good time for them. You know, I've been covering this case since 2025 when it took place. I guess it's nice for y'all to get around to talking about it. So we got to see things for what they are. And just know that there's media manipulation and everything. They got you believing that jury is all biased, black biased, black bad. No, without black people on your jury, think about all the cases that you know about where a person who did something to a black man, maybe a woman too, if they did not have a black person in the jury, the possibility of them getting that verdict at all, slim to none. Slim to none. Statistics show that when a black man comes in with the same charges as a white guy with similar backgrounds, black man gets harsher sentences. That's the jury. That's the jury, fam. These are statistics that are readily available for anyone to look up. They tell you black people get biased favoritism. That's bullshit. That's a lie. Stop believing lies. That's the furthest thing from the truth. You've been black your whole life. When have you ever gotten preferential treatment? When that ever happened? You think redlining was preferential treatment? They drew a line around our neighborhoods and said, don't lend money to people inside this circle. Then the Asians came and they said, lend money to them. And they could set up shop in this circle, but black people know. And our homes, when we were in them, they weren't worth shit. Once they gentrify and move us out, all of a sudden the property's worth a lot of money. Family, when has it ever been a benefit to be black in America? Cut the cap. No. Stop buying into nerders. So we're going to keep it moving, man. The media manipulation got you thinking that the jurors, the black jurors, are biased. No, it's not bias. It's seeing black people like white people see white people. That's the bias. And it looks like bias to people that see you as an animal, to people that see you as a gangster, to people that see you as a thug. And we know when they say, you ever hear white people call white people thugs? You never hear them say it. This is another word for black. America is a lot more racist than you give it credit for. They got you, they went around saying victimization, that's victim mentality. What? It's called numbers. These are numbers, these are the stats. Go look it up when you get time.
Catch Tim Black live on the most dangerous show in America, Sundays, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Times. Don't miss out on the real. Stay dangerous.